They're saying it's over 30 years since Leon Bennun had an expedition to look at the Aldonia rock. I don't have a copy of the findings. I'm aware that they trapped an Illadopsis, which was released but sadly no photographs taken. Okay. And then in the series of replies, it looks like the original note was done by Brian Finch. And then here is James replying that this was a report from the National Museums of Kenya. And these are different bird species that were done, and this was a paper in 2007, and Namanga is down there, and there's a discussion about an Illadopsis, the different sampling techniques for mist netting. I'll do a session on mist netting at some point, what it entails. Timed species counts. This is basically you go to a particular place and spend a dedicated amount of time within one location. Okay. And the conversation further goes on that in 1986 there was an expedition, and this is Leon Bennun himself, and he's saying 2 Illadopsis were in fact photographed, and they should be somewhere at the ornithology department, and he doesn't know how easy it would be to relocate them. It's a big mountain. Timed species counts are good. It requires a lot of resources, requires a lot of time. The other option is to, actually go bird watching there and hope we bump into the bird. But the third option, which is new, is to put a recording device in the forest, and at some point the bird is going to sing. Now, there's something called an audio moth, and I arranged for a couple to be set up in the forest, and at the same time to have a view of the forest. We decided to go there with my friends Angela, Timo, and Adrian. So here I'm programming the audio mod. You kind of have to set it up. It can take 4 weeks in the forest, but you have to set up the intervals when it's quiet, when it's recording, so that it doesn't record throughout. And that's literally what I'm setting. So birds normally call early in the morning or late in the evening, but sometimes I need to figure out which owls exist in the forest. So I'd put a night recording as well, just to ensure that I pick up what happens in the forest at night. So that's the way the hardware looks. It's a small device, and that's my friend James setting it up, aligning the speakers in a clear way, and then setting it up in the forest. So that's Namanga Hill, and the town, that's the road from Nairobi going around the hill, and right at the bottom is Namanga town, and that's the border with Kenya and Tanzania. It's quite a busy town, and the main intention was to get to the lighter bits of the forest, which is high up and which gets quite cold, and which is the peak. But we took a different route, and we ended up, that's one route, which is the one we took, and we ended up where that point is. There are other routes as well, one which was shorter, which we got to discover a little later. And then there's a third one which is nearer the town, which is probably what we should have used. But it was still a very dense forest at the top with buffaloes, so I don't think we missed much. I actually think it was the more forested area of the forest. So that's where we camped the night, we spent the night, and we did all the field sampling.
Ukipata hii sehemu wakati wa kiangazi ijanyesha, ni free tu, manjia tu ziko.
Anaelewa, hakuna hata kitu
Ana narusa tena mara, hiyo marije. Kuna mahali kuna target. Iko huko pale juu, lakini sasa njia ya kufikia hapa. Okay. Ya kwenda ndio. Wakati wa kiangazi huku kuna kuaga tu njia kabisa.
You're gonna freeze?
But it's warm.
You want a jacket?
Yeah.
Okay. I have an extra if you want.
Okay.
Do you want to use
Ah,
that?
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice idea.
Nice. The output after all the hard work is a lot of files. So as you can see, I had 2 moths, and the files are around 20 megabytes each for the period of time that the data is collected. And then I've got a friend who's really good at listening to this. Yeah, but if you listen to any of the audios, you can use any of the free software. I use Audacity, and with Audacity you're able to listen. So if you check the detail of what we found in that forest, that was 2024 February. And that should be just before the trip to the Tana. So that's the file. So you'll be able to see the different species that we found. That's the lower side of the Oldonyo forest. A little surprised by these olive-headed green bulls. This was observation. Again, this was observation. So all the records are kept pretty well. So that's the way the records look. And while we saw some really good birds, we are sad to report that we did not find the Illadopsis, which begs the question of does that Illadopsis really exist in that place?